Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. We are going to hear first from former President Donald Trump. Then we're going to hear from the Fulton County DA, the testimony today. We're going to hear from the prosecutor, his testimony. We're going to read from Megyn Kelly and some other people and hear exactly why, number one, the DA could be disqualified because potentially she might have lied to the court about the years of the relationship that she stated initially would never have taken place or didn't take place or she would not have engaged in. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. To read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, other publications, go to hagoodman.com. Paul Bartlett in Australia. Thank you to my viewers in Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Nepal, Canada, UK. I love you. Thank you. And of course, in my country, the U.S., God bless you. Hit subscribe. So you're going to hear from a number of people. You're also going to hear from the person who testified that the years of the relationship did not match the statements made to the court. Okay? And you're going to hear about testimony pertaining to possible misuse of funds. I want to state categorically, ladies and gentlemen, I am not accusing, nor am I trying to insinuate that Fani Willis is guilty of anything or that the prosecutor that she had the romantic relationship with is guilty of anything. I am simply playing the testimony, giving my political analysis, which Trump has won a landslide victory because of this. We'll discuss that later on. So hit subscribe to this channel. You'll hear Trump, then you'll hear testimony from DA Willis, and then you'll hear testimony from the top prosecutor, both of whom could be disqualified because of possible misuse of funds and also because of an affair or romantic relationship that was not accurately told to the court. This is part of a Republican state congressional state Senate investigation. So, and this only took place recently, and that's unfortunately what happens when you go after Trump. We've seen these types of relationships in the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Justice. So hit subscribe to this channel right now. Let's get started with Trump, and then we'll get to DA Willis, her testimony.
As President Trump had, but never has such a thing as what he's done with the weaponization of our government, DOJ, FBI. It's never taken place in our country. It only takes place in third world countries. This has never happened in our country before. And the local DAs are part of it, and the attorney generals are all a part of it. You saw what happened in Atlanta with Fani, F-A-N-I, Fani. How do you pronounce F-A-N-I, Fani? They interviewed her a year before. I would never have an affair with anybody in my office. Well, she had an affair. And they paid the guy almost $1 million. The only way, and honestly, that just corrupts all of justice. And they spent a lot of time at the White House. You read that. It came out last week, right? Everybody read it? If you didn't read it, I'm telling you now, and I'm telling all the fake news back there. They spent a lot of time in the White House. And you know what they were talking about? How do we get Trump? How do we get him? He's been quite elusive over the years, hasn't he? He's been quite elusive. The only way to defeat this corrupt and weaponized system is to defeat crooked Joe Biden, to vote overwhelmingly for President Donald J. Trump in November, which is voting for yourselves. Under the Biden administration, every facet of our government has been perverted, corrupted, and turned upside down and inside out.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here's the problem for Democrats. Here's the problem for Democrats, and you will get to hear the Fulton County DA in a second in testimony. Okay, here's the problem for Democrats, okay? The problem is that there could be a misuse of funds, okay? There could be a misuse of funds. There also the misuse of funds, state and federal, could be linked to a romantic relationship that the DA possibly lied about in terms of when it started. So again, I'm categorically not making any claim. I have no clue if the DA Fani Willis is telling the truth, and the Republican Senate investigation is not telling the truth. I'm not making a claim as to anyone's guilt or innocence here. The problem is that when you try to, from a political angle, imprison a former president, you better make sure that you're not engaged in possible criminal but potentially unethical conduct. This gave Trump not only the state of Georgia, but it gave Trump a landslide victory for a number of reasons. We'll talk about this. Every single one of the cases are being dismantled. The DC case is being dismantled by the Supreme Court. This case is being dismantled because of the relationship and the possible financial expenditures that were not allowed under the state laws. And you have the hush money payments, the only thing they have, and nobody cares about that. The FEC fined Clinton and the DNC. But here you have, and then you have the classified data that, of course, we know Biden should have been indicted on. And Trump was a president with the power to declassify. But here, Megyn Kelly, her former close friend, testified that the romantic relationship began well prior to when Fani hired him, by years, which means they lied to the court. And here is the moment that the former coworker employee stated, okay, we'll get to her testimony right now, because the issue is whether or not they had the relationship in 2019. From what's been reported, again, it is possible they lied to the court pertaining to the date of when the relationship started. So here is testimony as to when the relationship started, which contradicts the stated date given to the court.
And so you're, without going into all the painstaking details, there's no doubt in your mind that from 2019 until 2022, Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade were in a romantic relationship.
What's the question?
You have no doubt that their romantic relationship was in effect from 2019 until the last time you spoke with her?
No doubt.
Okay. And that's based on your personal observations and speaking with them and seeing them together and things like that?
Yes.
Okay. No other questions. Thank you. The other folks may have some questions for you, Mr. Yurdy.
Say no.
You want me to go to the
If it's more than
So this testimony possibly contradicts what was stated by the district attorney. So this alone could disqualify the district attorney. Then you have the issue of possible state and federal misuse of funds. Okay, I'm trying to be as fair and balanced as possible. Okay, the DA and others are being accused of misusing state and federal funds. And the political aspect is to imprison a former president. So they are trying to, from a political viewpoint, imprison a former president while at the same time possibly engaging in unethical conduct of their own, possibly, although not likely, criminal behavior. All right, let's get to, so if you look at what Megyn Kelly was talking about, Lord. So then you have the issue of the state funds. Wade claimed Fani reimbursed him for all the expensive trips. Okay, he definitely got caught lying. Earlier court submissions. Okay, so the divorce court filings. So this is also, he swore he had no receipts because he only had credit card statements reflecting charges. So this is very bizarre. There was a divorce going on alongside all of this. But let's get to the DA right now.
Did Mr. Wade ever visit you at the condo that you leased from Miss Yurdi?
He visited that condo, yes.
He did.
Yes.
Did he ever spend the night at that condo?
No.
Just visited.
Yeah, but he did visit for sure.
Did you ever go out to eat together, other than the lunches you talked about, during 2019 or 2020?
I would think that we probably went to lunch, but it wouldn't have been.
How do
Let me think. 2019. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say we probably broke bread someplace in 2019. I don't remember it, but it seems like we would have broke bread sometime in 2019. So I'm going to say yes, although I have no recollection. But it seems to me like I go out to eat and drink with pretty much everyone, so I'm going to say yes.
So outside of the vacations that we've already talked about, did you ever go out to dinner with Mr. Wade?
I mentioned to you that
I'm going to object as to what time period. Like we're asking very vague questions. I thought we were treating the witness as hostile under 611. We're no longer doing that. So we're going to go back and forth. We need to be more specific with our questions if we're going to treat her as hostile.
All right, Ms. Merchant, it's not so much. I think you can elect between leading and open-ended questions, but I think we are still wondering about, and I think we need to get back on track of focusing on the financial benefit or the relationship.
And my next question about if you did go out to dinner, who paid when you went out to dinner?
he paid, I paid.
You both paid.
Okay, so let me be real clear. We didn't say, oh, the bill is $102. You give $51, I'll give $51. I don't operate like that with my girlfriends. I don't operate like that with anyone. He caught the bill, I caught the bill. Whomever.
Did you ever pay him through Cash App?
No.
You only ever paid him through cash?
Well, yes. We're talking about, I'm very confused.
You've
now.
never given Mr. Wade money through Cash App?
No.
The only money you've ever given him outside of a contract is cash.
I didn't give him money in a contract, so that was cute. But I didn't give him money outside in a contract. What happened is, no, we're going to answer it since you said it. He worked more hours than he was paid, and the county paid him for the work that he did. So don't be cute with me and then think that you're not going to get an answer.
And I will ask you about the contract in a minute. I asked you about cash. Did you ever pay him anything? And I'm trying to qualify my questions. I'm not talking about the contract with Fulton County that was paid. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about outside of that. Did you ever pay him anything other than cash?
I've only given him cash a few times in the course of what we're talking about.
So if we would go to dinner,
Let her finish her answer.
if we would go to dinner, I wouldn't give him cash because he paid for dinner or I paid for dinner. I've given him cash only a few times in life, probably 4.
okay.
Probably the most money I've ever handed him is $2,500. The least amount of money I've handed him, probably between $500 and $1,000.
You never wrote him a check?
Ma'am, I don't have checks.
Okay. So you have no proof of any reimbursement for any of these things because it was all cash, right?
The testimony of one witness is enough to prove a fact.
So my
Are you
question was,
telling
do
me
you have
that I'm
any
lying to you?
proof?
Is that what you're intimating right here?
I'm asking if you have any proof that you paid him any of these
The proof
monies.
is what I just told you.
You have no written proof. Is that correct?
So I have some probably some transactions like in Belize. I probably spent $500 on my card in Belize. I spent $900 on each.
So the issue is the following. The issue is about the possible misuse of funds. That's what this is all about, the possible misuse of funds. So, Nicholas, thank you, by the way. Soldier, thank you. Greatly, greatly appreciated. To the members of this channel, thank you. So, let's just read really quickly what Megyn Kelly stated. He definitely got caught lying on his earlier court submission in divorce court and attempted to say the reason he swore that he had no receipts, which was because he only had credit card statements reflecting the charges. Okay, Wade claimed Fani reimbursed him for all the expensive trips, but no record of that because it was all cash. Are you now cash being like a check or cash as in bills, $100 bills or so, or $20, whatever? Because you could say cash, I paid it in a check. But if there's no record, well, obviously there's a record with a check. This is a problem just because of the possible misuse of funds. Okay? That's the issue here. It's the possible misuse of federal and state funds. Again, none of these things would come to light if not for trying to imprison Trump. That's the real issue here. This happened also at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, but here there is this is from a journalist. Just an MSNBC admits defeats, says the DA will be disqualified because she allegedly lied to the court. And here you have one political analyst talking about the potential lie.
The legalese fool you. This is epic. This is monumental. If things are going in the direction we think, Fani Willis lied to the court. It's game over for her. She will be disqualified. If they had a relationship prior to when they represented to the court, it's a huge deal. I can't overstate it.
And do you feel the same way, Charles, based on the testimony?
So, if she lied about the year, and this is the same thing like with the Bill Clinton saga, you know, what constitutes a relationship and when does the relationship start, all of that stuff. Clinton lied under oath about semantics, and he was impeached for lying under oath, which is, by the way, a crime. Trump wasn't impeached for a crime. And trying to say he tried to overthrow the United States government is not a crime. It's because it didn't happen. And so anyway, he didn't lie under oath. This is huge, ladies and gentlemen. This case is completely dismantled until long after 2024 into 2025, and possibly because he'll regain the Oval Office, and then it would be virtually impossible to get the case going. But here, let's continue.
Of our tickets to go to Belize. I did the $700. I probably got some minor expenses in Aruba that would be on a card. But for the most part, for those trips, other than, so the 2 cruises, I gave him money for those before we ever left because they were pre-booked. Let me answer.
Well, the question was if you had any written proof. And so
I've answered you that I've had written
we
proof.
can move to the next question. If you've answered, if you had any written proof, and that was my question.
I want to make sure that we're clear that for the 2 cruises,
Judge,
and that's
I
the
asked if she gave
plus
him written
Aruba.
proof.
We're not going to talk over each other. Ms. Merchant, she answered your question, so we can ask the next question. Ms. Willis and Ms. Cross will have plenty of opportunities to let you clarify your answers when it's her turn.
Thank you, Judge. Knowing your role as district attorney, you know that public funds are scrutinized and money is scrutinized and things like that. You understand.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You understand you're under a microscope. You have reporting requirements, all of those types of things. You have no record other than your testimony of the money that you've given Mr. Wade.
You've already asked that question. Let's keep going.
When you took office, you had a tax lien of $4,600. Did you pay that with cash when you made that tax lien whole?
I probably paid through however you pay.
Okay. So, but you were saying that you had amounts of cash. You still had that lien in 2022 when you were dating Wade and going on these trips. So the cash that you gave him, that could have been used to pay this tax lien off?
You gonna tell me how to pay my
I'm going to
bills?
object. This is not relevant as it relates to why we're here today.
Mr. Merchant, are you trying to establish that she was insolvent in some way?
I definitely was trying to establish that she did not have these mass amounts of cash that she's talking about, yes.
All right. Re-ask the question.
You had a tax lien in 2022, $4,600.
Did you say I did?
And you did not use this cash that you had to reimburse Mr. Wade to pay that off, correct?
No.
Okay.
I went shopping too and I didn't pay it off.
And you talked about, you gave a lot of interviews to some authors of a book called Fani, right?
I would not characterize it as a lot. I probably have spoken to them 2 or 3 times.
My question is relevant as to...
I think it's already come up. Finances are discussed in the book. I'll overrule that.
Thank you.
Ms. Willis, you can continue your answer.
What came up with Mr. Wade as it relates to hearsay statements that he was asked about in relation to what Ms. Willis may or may not have said in relation to an author. So it's not relevant to testimony that's occurring at this time.
I think Ms. Merchant has said that inside the book, she also makes a statement as to her own finances, and that's that issue.
So you gave interviews to the authors of this book, correct?
Once or twice.
Okay. And
Just to be comprehensive. I don't know if it was 3 times, 2 or 3 times, I think.
you were quoted in the book, and I will give you a chance to say if this is a misquote. You were quoted, when they asked you about if you wanted to run for office for DA, you were quoted, "I really don't want to be financially effed up again." Do you remember saying that?
So what that refers to,
My question first is if you remember saying that.
I remember saying something similar to that, but I would like to be able to explain what that's in reference to. That's not in reference to anything else. It was a huge sacrifice to be district attorney in Fulton County. Huge. I was doing just fine. I had a municipal court judgeship that was paying me $100,000 a year, and like you got to show up twice a week. Easiest thing I've ever done in life. I also had private clients that were paying me to represent them. So I was able to have a law practice and that. Raising 2 daughters by myself, there were times in life where things were hard. And so I was telling people, I don't really run for DA. I don't want to run for DA. I'm in a good position right now. I got this easy job that I enjoy, being the chief judge of the city of South Fulton. I'm making money at the law firm, and I'm not sure that I want to make this sacrifice. And why does it always have to be me? Eventually, I prayed. I think that I was the appropriate person. I think that I did that. So when you're referring to that, what I'm saying is, why should I make a sacrifice again? And what I was not talking about is being district attorney. Once you get elected district attorney, you're in a fine financial position. I make over $200,000 a year. What I was talking about is I ran for judge. When I ran for judge, I took $50,000 of my personal money out of my retirement. And that money ended up being lost. And I know when you bet on yourself, you're going to have to bet money on yourself. And so what I was talking about was not wanting to go through the personal financial expense of running for office. By no means did I think that I was going to be financially in a bad position once I won. Let's talk about what I was up against, because it's important to understand that comment.
Isn't it true that the authors also wrote, and you can dispute this if you'd like, that you were broke after that race?
The 2018 race.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a hard race. I wasn't broke like I didn't have any. So broke is relative to depending where you are, but that hurt to lose that $50,000. So I'm sure my mental mindset was like, I just gave $50,000 away.
Right. So they characterized it from their conversations with you that you were broke, you had poured your own money into the campaign, and you weren't able to pay your own bills because of your, and that you had clients that weren't able to pay their bills.
Can you show me where that is? Because this is where you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here's the main issue, okay? Revco, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, how's the audio, by the way? Can you hear me okay? How is the audio, ladies and gentlemen? Can you hear me all right, ladies and gentlemen? So we'll just start off really quickly before I get going on the audio. Okay, good. Revco, thank you. Epic meltdown. I listened to the entire hearing today. But I think this is far from over. It's hard to remove DA. Revco, yes. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the issue is, I agree with you, Revco. Thank you. It's very difficult. I think that the possible misuse of funds is a big issue. So that is a huge, huge thing. The romantic relationship is not that big of a deal. I mean, if it would be if it was Republicans, for sure. For sure it would be if it was Republicans. It would be a huge deal if it was Republicans. Then they would say, oh my God, conflicts of interest, oh my God. And there would be investigative journalism everywhere on the topic. The bizarre thing here is the emphasis on cash. So we'll get to that right now. Revco, thank you. Paul Bartlett, thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough, Paul. The emphasis on cash, that is very bizarre. Again, cash could mean a check. You paid cash, or it could mean actual fiat currency. And so it's bizarre that state or city employees would be out, like a prosecutor would be outsourced and then he would be paid in cash. If what I understand is correct, that's, I think, bizarre. Nicholas, thank you again, Nicholas. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's continue with this. This is bizarre right here.
Well, so let me discuss this. You indicated that during the course of your explanation concerning the Belize trip, that Ms. Willis paid you all that money back in cash. Remember?
Yes, sir.
Now, the Belize trip had just happened, hadn't it? That occurred in March 18th, 2023, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're filing this maybe 2 months after you have gone to Belize with Ms. Willis, correct?
Again, I believe all of this is our.
I think you might be getting somewhere new. We'll see.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So we've got the trip in. We've got the trip in to Belize on March the 18th, 2023. You and Ms. Willis, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, 2 months later, you file the interrogatories that speak for themselves that we've gone over a few minutes ago, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, the March the 18th, 2023, to state the obvious, is before May the 30th, 2023. Will you agree with me on that?
I do.
Okay. So then you tell us that Ms. Willis paid you in cash all the money for the entire trip. It was a gift for you for your birthday, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure you probably have the deposit slips where you took the cash and deposited the cash into your account, don't you?
I did not deposit the cash in my account.
You don't have a single solitary deposit slip to corroborate or support any of your allegations that you were paid by Mrs. Willis in cash, do you?
No, sir.
Not a single solitary one.
Not a one.
Now, when Miss Willis would pay you in cash, would you scamper down to the ATM with her, and as she drew money out of her account
Your
to
Honor.
pay you these thousands of dollars?
Mr. Gillen might scamper, but there's been no evidence that Mr. Wade does. I object to the phrasing, the argumentative nature of the question.
All right. On that issue, overruled.
Did you and Miss Wade scamper down to the ATM machine and have her draw out, for example, on the Belize trip, just on your payment would have been $2,794?
Miss Wade,
For clarity, yeah, thank you.
Pardon me?
Miss Wade and I didn't go to Belize.
No, excuse me, Miss Willis, I'm sorry. Did you go down to the ATM with Miss Willis while she drew out $2,794 to pay you in cash that you did? Did you go to the ATM with her?
No, sir. She didn't go to the ATM. She carried the cash.
Oh, and so she would give you the cash. Did you have a little place in your house where you just stack up all this cash that you apparently got to repay you for these benefits that you bestowed on her?
Well, Mr. Gillen, if I answered that, I'm putting myself in jeopardy. If I tell the world that I have cash someplace in my home, don't you think that could be problematic?
No, I don't. I want an answer as to whether or not you have a little cash hoard in your house where you have allegedly taken the money that you got from Mrs.
So, the issue, ladies and gentlemen, is an issue about state working for a city and being paid in cash. Now, again, I want to make the distinction. Sometimes if you pay in cash, you pay with a check, and there's obviously a record. The bank, your bank, the bank that the person is cashing the check, using to cash the check. Actual dollar bills being state tax funded prosecutors or district attorneys are paid through checks from the city. Okay? And then they're supposed to, if you have a credit card, or yeah, you're not supposed to, I don't think you're supposed to, for a city or state, if you're working for a city or state, utilize taxpayer money by paying prosecutors with actual dollar bills and not some kind of check or credit card where there's a paper trail. So there should be some kind of paper trail, or there should be some kind of financial transaction history where you can say, okay, the taxpayers of Fulton County, the taxpayers of Georgia paid the DA and and then the DA paid the prosecutor. The DA paid the prosecutor through a check, but not through actual dollar bills. That's also bizarre. And nothing wrong with utilizing cash. The problem is if you're getting paid through taxpayer dollars. You need some kind of record as to where the money's going.
Mrs. Willis and went and put it somewhere. Where'd you put it?
No, sir.
Now, just put it on the hip and kind of walk around money?
Did I put it on my hip and
Yeah, just walking around money where you would spend cash yourself?
Let me finish. Did I put it on my hip in Belize and walk around with it?
When you got paid back, would you take the money, the cash that she gave you, and would you just carry it around with you for spending money around town?
So we have to break down each trip because, for example, for the cruise, she paid me the money before we took the cruise. So I was here and I could put the money in my pocket or put it away wherever I wanted to do with it. Other trips, she would give me the money there. So at that point, I could either spend it or put it in my pocket or put it in the hotel safe.
There's no special place that you would have all this cash that you would be getting from her that you've told us about to pay back for the benefits that you have bestowed on her?
The only special place that cash would have gone would have been to one of my children.
Okay. Now, are you aware, have you discussed these pleadings with Miss Willis?
No, sir.
So there's been no discussion between you and Miss Willis about the allegation concerning the benefits that you have bestowed on her? Is that correct?
To the phrasing, the benefits bestowed upon, I don't believe that's an accurate reflection of the testimony, and I don't think that's the appropriate phrase.
I think overruled. You can answer the question.
Okay. When you said proceedings, are you talking about the divorce proceedings? Because we were talking about the interrogatories. To that question, the answer is no. If you're go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead with your answer. I'll hear the complete answer, then I'll follow up.
Okay. If you're asking me about this hearing, the proceedings of this hearing, have we discussed the financial piece based upon Mr. Roman's motion? Yes.
So you have discussed the financial piece. Where did that discussion take place?
Conference room.
Were you other people there, or were you and Ms. Willis discussing this about what your position was going to be?
The relevance of this.
Well,
Mr. Gillen?
and the relevance has to do with suddenly we have a declaration from Mr. Wade in this case where he says roughly equal and then shows one alleged payment by Miss Willis. No mention of cash, none. So I need to find out a little bit more about how suddenly we have this revelation about cash from the witness stand today.
Overruled.
So we part company there when you say no mention of cash. If I provided one receipt that didn't amount to what you would think was roughly equal, the rest of it is cash.
Well, did you in your declaration, sir, it was filed in this case, did you tell the court in that declaration that the expenditure that you had provided on behalf of Miss Willis was paid for back by her in cash, yes or no?
I believe that I did when I said that the expenses were split roughly evenly.
If you could point to me any place in your affidavit where you used the word cash, I would appreciate it. Take your time.
I didn't use the word cash, no, sir.
No, you didn't use the word cash, did you?
But I didn't say that she didn't give it to me in cash.
No, you just didn't tell anybody that you allegedly got paid back in cash, right?
No, I told everyone who asked.
Today.
Yes, sir.
Now, who else was with you, if anyone else, when you and Ms. Willis were discussing how you would be handling the financial component of the motion here today, that is the personal benefits?
I'm going to object to the relevance of that, Your Honor.
Mr. Gillen?
Well, the relevance is if they know that they're going to be called as witnesses, they've been subpoenaed, and they are discussing what they're going to say, we need to know that. The court needs to know that. It goes to the veracity of Mr. Willis and, Miss Willis and Mr. Wade.
Overruled.
We didn't discuss how we were going to handle testimony.
My question was, when you were discussing with Miss Willis in the conference room, when you were discussing what you perceive to be the situation concerning the benefits for the payments.
Yes, sir.
Was there anyone else present?
No, sir.
How long did the meeting take?
Probably 5 or 10 minutes.
Did Miss Willis tell you what she was going to say?
No, sir.
Did you ask her whether she had any bank withdrawals that would corroborate the assertion that she would pay you back in large sums of cash for these trips to the Caribbean, Belize, California, on and on and on?
Your Honor, again, I object. The proffer, when the last relevant suggestion was made, was that Mr. Gillen needed to know who else was there. These could be potential witnesses that he could cross-examine. That question has been answered, so I can't object.
Okay. I think it's still exploring possible bias or motive to shape his testimony, so overrule on that ground.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Willis, Mr. Wade, when you were having this discussion, did you ask Ms. Willis, do you have anything to support these cash withdrawals?
No, sir.
Did you ask her where she got the cash?
Here, this is the conversation.
All right, so here's the really, really big issue. The issue here is that there is a problem with state or city or state or federal employees being paid in cash. Okay? That's just a problem. By the way, Coach O'Connor, thank you so much to my super chat. Thank you. Thank you very much, Coach O'Connor. Thank you. To my super chat, thank you. And Nicholas, thank you so very, very much. That's interesting. Okay, so there's that's right. They're not talking about right now. Well, from what I understand, the testimony goes on a long time. They're talking about paying cash for trips. But I think that there was a mention of paying cash for the actual work. Or I could be wrong. Okay, so don't quote me on it, but from what we heard earlier on, I think there was a mention of cash payments for work as, a prosecutor. Okay. The bottom line is, from the political angle here, the case, Trump has won politically. Okay? He has won politically. And you look, ladies and gentlemen, and Trump is up. He's up by like 6 or 7 points in each and every poll in Georgia. Okay? He's up by 6 or 7 points in every single poll in Georgia. And so, you look, ladies and gentlemen, this is an unmitigated disaster for Democrats. An absolutely unmitigated, unparalleled disaster. Even, pundits on the left are saying this is very bad. And the reason is because you're trying to imprison. They're not just trying to interfere. Democrats aren't just trying to interfere in 24, which is what they accuse Trump of doing. They're not just trying to interfere in 24. They're trying to imprison former President Donald Trump. They want him in prison. It ain't ever going to happen. That's never, ever, ever going to happen. Okay, Donald Trump will not spend 1 second in jail or prison. So that simply will not happen. Okay? The problem is, this is just an unmitigated disaster. Democrats are trying to, in Georgia, they're trying to make the case that Trump is a criminal. And now you have a complete dismantling of this case, which, by the way, was a RICO case. Okay, rolling hello, which by the way was a RICO case. Coach O'Connor, thank you. Paul Bartlett, thank you again. And Everett's in my super chat, thank you. That's a big issue, ladies and gentlemen. This is also an interesting exchange between the attorney for the Senate Republicans and the DA.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Your security detail, did they take you to and from your house?
So I haven't been able to enjoy my home.
Condo, I'm sorry.
Since March.
Where you lay your head? Did they take you to and from where you lay your head?
99% of the time.
Would they take Mr. Wade to and from wherever you laid your head?
That has never in the history of ever happened. Ever, okay?
Your security team has never taken him?
From my house? That's a lie.
That's another. If they've ever taken him anywhere.
And I'm telling you that that's never happened.
So your security team has never taken
Mr. Wade
anywhere?
My security team has never taken Mr. Wade from any place where I have lived and brought him here. Never. Not once. Not ever.
Have they ever taken the two of you together?
To where?
Anywhere.
Well, we've left this building and gone to lunch, but I go to lunch so rarely that is a very rare occasion, I am sure. And let me be clear, it wouldn't just be Mr. Wade. So I'm sure my security team has taken me to lunch. Probably been a time I've left here 7 o'clock, gone to get something to eat, and I don't even know that they would have taken him or if he would have driven himself, but they've taken me to do that. But we're talking very few, very far in between. Most days I don't even eat lunch, and when I do, it's because my assistant has heated up some bag, something, and I eat through meetings and eat in my office. It's not a practice of mine to go to lunch.
During the time period that you were dating, would your security team ever take you two together anywhere?
No.
Never?
If there was a lunch that occurred that I just described, if there was a meal that occurred that I just described, anything outside of that, and it needs to be very clear, not often, once, twice, because I want to be over-inclusive, I'm saying once or twice. I'm not certain that it happened, but I'd rather be over-inclusive with you.
So your office objected to us getting Delta records for flights that you may have taken with Mr. Wade.
No, look. I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
So, with all due respect to the DA and to anyone who believes that Trump tried to steal something, if indeed you can't put, 2020 in your pocket and then run out of a democracy store. He didn't steal anything, Trump. He went through the courts. He went through his attorneys. He lost court cases. He lost court cases. That's exactly what Democrats did in 2016. Almost exactly what Democrats did. The problem with this indictment is that Republicans in Georgia, attorneys in the state, defended Trump's viewpoint. The viewpoint has been now turned into a criminal enterprise. And so that's very unfortunate. And it's like you have a situation where Trump did not believe that things were done in a fair and just manner. He tried to investigate. He tried to go through the court system. He tried to go through his attorneys, and he's now being indicted for doing so. It took 3 years, by the way, for all of these indictments from Democratic Party prosecutors to come out in 24. If the reverse were true, Democrats would say that it's obvious Republicans were trying to interfere. Okay? So, but ladies and gentlemen, again, the DA, Fani Willis, could be 100% correct, 100% innocent of the allegations, and the prosecutor, Mr. Wade, could be absolutely innocent of all the allegations. I'm not weighing in on whether or not they're guilty. I'm just saying from a political perspective, this is an unmitigated, unparalleled disaster for Democrats. And this is the same type of thing that's going to go on in every single trial. Because you're going to have either Trump win on appeal, okay, like the fraud case, he'll probably lose, but he'll win on appeal, which will only help his poll numbers. And the entire world is talking about these issues within the Fulton County case. It's not helping Democrats turn Trump into criminals. It's making Democrats look like they're just politically motivated and engaging in unethical behavior of their own. It's an unmitigated political disaster for Democrats. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel. I'll be back tomorrow around 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Hit subscribe to this channel if you're new to the Super Chat. Thank you so very much. And again, this is a terrible political outcome. Trump is on his way because he'll win Georgia because of this. It's interesting. Democrats had a better chance of winning Georgia had they not indicted Trump in Fulton County. Now he's popular among every demographic group in the state and throughout the country. So in terms of the Electoral College, he's won Georgia. He's going to win Arizona because of everything taking place in the southern geographic region of our country. Paul Bartlett, I cannot thank you enough, Paul. I cannot thank you enough. Paul Bartlett, so kind of you. Coach O'Connor, Paul Bartlett, Nicholas, everybody here. Thanks, everybody. Paul, I can't thank you enough. To my viewers in Australia and around the world, God bless you. UK, Canada, God bless you. Philippines, God bless you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your support. I will see you tomorrow at around 2 p.m. Eastern. 2 p.m. Eastern.